This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. These are 5 stories that we're following today. First, the markets point squarely down today, and the Treasury yields are spiking as the U.S. government finds that it's having challenges selling its bonds at the rates it'd like to sell it. This is concerning. It means we're paying higher interest rates as a country. It means there's more concerns about the long-term creditworthiness of the United States. It also means that our deficit's too high, and finally means that people are still concerned that inflation continues. Second, the markets were relatively flat yesterday, but again, as we said a moment ago, point up. The markets point down squarely today. Third story, we're watching the bank stocks. Bank of America is up nearly 17% year to date. JP Morgan and Chase is up a little more than 17% year to date. And Wells Fargo is up almost 21% year to date. Who would have thought Wells Fargo would be the best performing of those this year? Fourth, in running a business or developing a business line, you end up with 3 core choices. We won't get into those 3 choices in depth here. We'll do it on a separate podcast. You double down on that line you're developing, you close down that line that you're developing, or you sort of stay the course with it and do what you're doing. And we'll talk about this more. The other thing I'll take a note on is when I invest in a startup company, and that company a couple years in says they're making a big market pivot, just so you understand how this sounds to an investor, that means in my head, I've completely marked down that investment to 0. And this will be a separate discussion and podcast, but when somebody's initial business plan doesn't work out, unless they're brilliant leaders that I've known for a long time, I view it as we're almost, this is bad news. In any event, the 5th note I have today is NVIDIA closed at a record high yesterday. It continues to outperform everything. Simply amazing. I miss that as a direct investor, but thank God for index investing where I get some part of it. Again, 5 quick stories here. We've got one, the market struggling today on the U.S. having trouble selling its bonds at the rate it would like to. Second, the markets were pretty flat yesterday. Third, the bank stocks are up this year. Wells Fargo leading the pack with Bank of America and JP Morgan behind that. Fourth, a discussion about building a business and business lines, stay the course, double down, or close it down. And then we also talk a little bit about pivots. And finally, 5th, NVIDIA closed at a record high yesterday, just knocked it out of the park, continues to knock it out of the park, and affords almost everything. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast.